Welcome, supers, to this Shark Tank Tank Tales interview with Beth Fynbo. Well, I almost said Fynbo. She was on Shark Tank season, I believe it was season 12. It was this season, past season, and I don't recall the episode number, but I will link it down below in the description for you to go and check out that Biz Coach Reacts video. It was from like 4 months ago at this point. She reached out and wanted to come and do an interview and talk about her Shark Tank experience. So I need some super claps in the comments below for Super Beth Fynbo. Welcome, Beth. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great, and I'm so excited to be here. When I found your video and watched it, it was like awesome for me because I had been there and I went through it. I knew everything that happened, and so I didn't know what it was like from a person's point of view who hadn't heard about it or been on my side. And so watching your reactions to what aired was just awesome for me.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that a lot. I mean, look, we get a fair bit of hate on this channel from people that are like, "Shut up and let it play," and I'm like, "Well, there's other ways to get it." I mean, it's not my responsibility to deliver that to you. It's my responsibility to help the super entrepreneurs out there get as much information, or in this case, the Shark Tank business owners get a fair, unbalanced, unbiased, or as much as I can, unbiased point of view to the products, right? And trying to take it serious at the same time. Because I mean, there's been a couple of pitches that I know Larry has, and I have a little bit bagged on, but for the most part, we try to be as fair and balanced as possible.
Yeah, maybe I liked it so much because you were so kind.
Oh, well, I do get that a lot. Larry says the things that I can't always say. I might be thinking them, I just can't say them. So it's good to have that balance. And some people think that Larry takes it too far, and sometimes he does. And and I just say, hey, email those complaints to Larry at Larry Roberts or Larry at readilyrandom.com, and he will respond to your emails and complaints. So you were on Shark Tank season 12, the busy baby Matt, and so I loved. Well, before we get into like your journey to getting Shark Tank, I just want to say I loved seeing that video that you shot of you sitting at your kitchen table. Was that your idea, or was that somebody, like one of the producers, like, hey, you have this video, why don't we share it?
Well, it actually came on the show because I used to share that every year on the anniversary. So on Throwback Thursday, the last 3 years, I would share that on my Instagram, Facebook feed saying, look at me 3 years ago, 2 years ago, whatever it was when I first started. And so it happened to be that 3-year mark fell on the day or 2 days before my recording. And so I asked, because it was all secretive. Nobody's supposed to know that I was there to record. Nobody knew. So I asked, can I share this like I do every year? And they said, no, you can't. But we would like to put it on we'd like to show the sharks. So I sent them the video so that they could show the sharks during my pitch.
Oh, very, very cool. That's a shame you couldn't share something you had already shared in previous years. So let's back the train up a little bit. So leading up to Shark Tank, were you trying to pitch to Shark Tank? Did they pitch to you? What kind of experience did you had to like get into the Shark Tank realm?
Yeah, I think I had a little different experience than probably most people. I was in my very, very, very first days of trying to figure out how do I take this idea and turn it into a product. I took part in Bunker Labs, which is an organization that helps veterans and their families learn how to start a business and help you start a business if you want to. And at Bunker Labs, they said, hey, we have the email address of a Shark Tank producer. The show reached out looking for veterans to feature on the show. Would you want that email address? I said, well, sure, I'll take the email address, but I'm not ready right now. So I filed that email address away into my contact list. And then about a year later, when I actually launched my first product, I blasted my, like, any email address I had anywhere. I sent out this, launch email saying I've launched a product. And a couple days later, I got an email back from the producer at Shark Tank saying, I see you've launched a product. How are sales? Would you be interested in being on Shark Tank? So since I had just launched, I didn't have hardly any sales. He said, well, we take businesses at all stages. However, to best set you up for success, it would be good if you had, a certain number of sales. I said, okay, I'll let you know when I hit that. And so he said, yep, stay in touch and let me know. So about 8 months later, I wasn't quite there in sales yet, but I got a patent. And so I reached back out and I said, hey, I don't have the sales quite yet, but I got a patent. Does that change anything? He said, yeah, that's great. But we just wrapped season 11. Reach back out to me in the spring when it's casting time for season 12. So I reached out in the spring and, went through the process and ended up getting to be on the show.
Well, that is awesome, and that definitely is a different story than I've heard thus far. I don't know. Words are words. Doing these interviews and getting to meet and know the different businesses that Shark Tank or has been on Shark Tank. I forgot to mention, thank you for your service, by the way, for all that you did for the country. It's so critical for all of us to be able to not even just in our country but in the world to be able to enjoy freedom. So I greatly appreciate that. So COVID, right? And all the things that come along with that. So it's like, okay, I finally get my chance to go on Shark Tank, and how fitting you had the video, that the video that you shared during Shark Tank. Was there a moment where you were kind of nervous that you weren't going to get, like, are they not going to be filming? Are they, am I not going to get to go on Shark Tank because of COVID?
Not because of COVID. I mean, they had pretty firmly established their COVID protocol. It's just always with Shark Tank, you don't ever know if you're going to go or not. Even up until the last minute, they're constantly paring down the number of companies. And especially during COVID, they flew fewer companies there to film because of just so many restrictions on everything and to lower the risk. So I knew that it was happening, and I just never knew, like, until I was physically there. I didn't know if I would film, because there's people that actually fly all the way and then don't even film. And then there's people who film and don't even air. So I didn't have any relief at all until I actually got an email saying, you're going to be on the air March 5th.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I've heard that where it's like you can be on the show, but it doesn't necessarily matter because you still might not get picked to air at the end of the day, which is got to be kind of nerve wracking because you especially in your situation. Spoiler alert, you didn't walk away with the deal unless something happened after the fact. I don't know. No. And that to me has to be because, like, the Shark Tank effect affects everybody, regardless of if you get a deal or not, right? You're getting in front of literally millions of eyeballs, and all that. So, from what my understanding is, you guys had to quarantine for 2 weeks in a hotel room. How was your experience running your business, and your family, and all that from a hotel room for 2 weeks?
So for me, it was 9 days. And I will say 9 days of heaven. At the time, I had an 8-month-old and a 3-year-old. And it had been a very stressful 8 months having the new baby, trying to run the business, trying to prepare for Shark Tank, because a lot went into the preparation. Having 8 full days of no crying, no whining, no butts to wipe, no food to cook, no house to clean, like taking all that kind of responsibility off my plate. And I sat in a peaceful, quiet hotel suite and had room service. And, we weren't allowed to leave our room at all. So for me, it was heaven. It was a slice of heaven. I mean, I missed my family. We FaceTimed constantly, multiple times a day. The boys did okay without me. Dad did a great job taking care of them.
Ding, ding for Dad.
Yeah, Dad has been killing it this last year. I've asked a lot of him, and he has just pulled through, and every single time I've asked anything of him, he is super dad for sure. But yeah, so for me, the hotel was nice. For some people, I don't know. I'm an introvert, so it was just happened. Other people probably didn't have as much enjoyment as I did.
Oh no, I got to experience that for like when I got was in 2017 we only had, or no, was it 2017 or 2018? I forget when it was. But I got my gallbladder taken out, and it was an emergency thing. Like I went in the middle of the night because I was having trouble breathing. So I went to the hospital. I had my sister drop me off at the hospital, and then for 3 days I didn't have anybody come visit me. I didn't have any responsibilities to, or I think. Well, if it was in 2017, we just had one kid, but I think Dom and Ava were alive at the time, so it would have been 2018. But yeah, so it was awesome having 3 days of like I didn't have to talk to anybody, I didn't have to do anything. So I resonate with that and understand. And leading up to such a stressful part of your life, like I mean, I know just from my own business and my own stuff, it's like. Being home, being dad, having 2 little ones. I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, and just the constant like give and take of like I got to get this stuff done, but I also want to be available, and I also want to be dad, and I also want to create an amazing experience for the kids. And it's just a constant war that's raging on, and for you to not have that leading up to that time is, I mean, had to been very. Like, I don't know, like otherworldly.
And, in a time where people lost family members, and I mean, COVID was just horrible for so many people. So many businesses struggled. I personally was so lucky, and I'm so grateful that everything timed out perfectly for me. COVID caused me to shift my entire business model, which caused me to end up with 900% growth in my business that may not have otherwise happened. All these things timed out perfectly that it just, I feel like I had the most smoothly paved road to get to where I am now. Very lucky.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, we, there are a lot of people that have lost, family and friends, and businesses have absolutely suffered, still suffering, and probably will continue to suffer for another year to 2 years as this rages across not just in America, but the world, as we are a world economy for the most part. So there's a lot of the effects to still be seen. The story has not been all told for sure just yet. So it's awesome that you were able to pivot and grow your business into time. I mean, the thing is, though, I feel like you would have probably at some point did what you've done anyway, right? Like you would have gone digital. It just probably would have been like, oh, well, this is working now, going to the trade shows and pound the pavement. But eventually it probably would have been like, oh, we have extra money. Like, let's pay somebody else to help speed that process up.
Yeah, for sure. I think it would have eventually happened. But it was immediate and life-changing how the business grew. I mean, basically because COVID ruined my plans. I credit everything that I've done in the last year and a half to what I learned in the military, which is kind of my life model is adapt and overcome. When you're in the Army or whatever, any critical job, you get training, you train. And then when you're put into the real world situation, it doesn't always go as you trained. And all you can do is adapt to the situation, overcome it, and keep moving forward. And that's what I've done in this business journey that I've been on. And COVID was an example of where literally everything I had planned was no longer possible. And so I just adapted to that and overcame it. And it turned out way better than what I had planned. So I guess it worked out for me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I always say when the chips are down, we have to swing the bat, and that's the case where it's like when we don't not necessarily know a lot about building websites and doing all these digital things, putting Facebook ads together, or and we can pay people to either teach us, work with us, or do it for us. But at the end of the day, like if it's part of our business, I always say like, usually do the latter, get somebody to help you do it, shortcut it. And because you should know every aspect of your business, right? But that doesn't mean that you go into it knowing every aspect. Like you don't wake up and like, oh, I know how to do website building now. I know how to do an effective Facebook ad and target it just right so that we get sales like you were right out of the gate. I mean, which was absolutely awesome for you to be able to pivot that quickly and make it happen. So it's testament to you and ding ding for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's an important thing to learn as entrepreneurs because it forced me, like in the beginning, I think all entrepreneurs, to include myself, I felt like I had to do everything. I didn't have a budget to pay people. I didn't have resources. I just knew that I needed to, okay, this is the next step. I got to Google how to do it, YouTube University, let me learn. Let me try it out. I tried Facebook ads and I blew through $1,000 in ad spend with 0 conversions because Facebook makes it super easy to create an ad.
So is the casino, Beth.
Yeah.
to spend $1,000.
Yeah. So just create add a video, some pictures, set a budget, set some demographics that you want to hit, and boom, you're running an ad. Well, that's not how it works. It's not effective, and so I had talked to the guy who I used for my digital ads is amazing. And he had reached out to me. And when I learned what his rate was, I was like, what? I cannot imagine paying somebody that much money per month and on top of that ad spend. So I actually said, you know what? I'm not at a good place. I was actually 8 months pregnant at the time. I said, I'll keep your number in case, when I get to that point where I can afford to pay somebody to do stuff for me. And then when the pandemic happened, I reached back out and I said, hey, Sergio, I have a budget now because all my travel budget was no longer going to be used. So I diverted that over to Facebook, paid Sergio, and boom, like just out of this world. Like what a difference when you have somebody who's an expert in what they do doing it versus you YouTube Universitying it or, trying to figure it out, worth every single penny. And so since then, that's been my new motto. If it's not something I can learn and do within an hour or two of my time, then it's worth paying somebody who's an expert at it to be way more effective and just get good right out the gate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I want to point out a key thing that you said there that I think not even just on entrepreneur level, small businesses have this problem as well. Budgets and goals, right? If I could add to that, if you aren't budgeting a certain amount of money for certain, tasks and things and, to reach those goals, then you're doing yourself, the business and your customers a huge disservice because then you're not like able to just divert funds. We're not going, we're not doing all those trade shows. We're going to take that budget and go do something else with it. It's just like, well, the money's drying up and now what am I supposed to do? Right. And because we can't go to trade shows and I don't know because I didn't budget. So I have no goals set. So I don't know what I don't know. And boom, all of a sudden we're in trouble.
Right. Goals. That's huge. Goals are huge. We do. So now since I aired on Shark Tank, I brought my brother into the business. So he quit his full-time job. He had a very stable, great job. He has 4 kids. He's the sole breadwinner for their family. And he quit his very stable job to join me in the very unstable world of entrepreneurship. So now he runs the company with me. And I forget why I was even bringing this up. What were we just talking about?
Budgets and goals.
So we meet every 6 weeks. Granted, we're brother and sister. We talk all the time. We work together all the time. But every 6 weeks, we have a retreat where we go away from our normal environment and we have an agenda. And part of that agenda is celebrating what's gone well in the last 6 weeks. What lessons did we learn from the last 6 weeks? Like what hard things did we learn? And then we review our budget, how things are going, and then we set goals. We set goals for the next 6 weeks, for the next 6 months, and then for, like a little longer term, 18-month period. And we revisit that every 6 weeks. And it has like really, really helped us stay focused, stay on track, stay aligned. I recommend that to anybody who's running a business, even if it's just yourself, like get a business coach to do that with you. It's so helpful.
Hi there. Hi, I'm Super Joe Farr. Nice to meet you. Profit growth strategist. Ding, ding, though. I think that is phenomenal for for literally everybody, because again, if you're not setting those goals and then adjusting those goals,
Yes.
then you're doing everybody a disservice, right? And it's very easily to, I always use the term treadmilling on zero, or treadmilling on, because you're like on a treadmill, but you're constantly on zero because you're like, well, we made sales and maybe the sales aren't coming in. We did $10,000 like in a day, and then you add like, we did 5,000 the next day and 2,000 next, like, this week we did 32,000 in sales. It's like, hey, that's not zero, right? But like if your sales are like a lot more infrequent than that, it's like, I sold 1,000 this week, and then next week maybe only a couple hundred, and then maybe we sell 1,000, and then maybe a couple hundred. Like, it's easy to just kind of get lost if you're not setting those goals, keeping track of the actual finances with the budget, and just thinking like, am I really making money? I always seem to be out of money, but there seem to be enough money. But in reality, there might be, there might not be. But if you're not setting budgets, you're not setting goals.
Exactly.
You just won't know.
Exactly. One fun thing that we just started doing that I'm really glad we do, because I work. I don't even take a lunch break. I go get my lunch, I bring it back here, and I clickety-clack on my keyboard while I'm eating my lunch. My brother has helped me learn how to take time off, take a little bit of a relax. And so we have now in our planning have planned for rest time, vacation time, family time. And I think it's so important now that I've done it to be like, oh my gosh, I can take a breath, I can relax. And guess what? Business keeps going. The world doesn't stop. Nothing falls apart. So next month I have 2 weeks vacation. First time in.
Look at you.
First time in 4
I love that. That is awesome. I think it is important to be able to give yourself permission, because I know when I left my family's business, I was working like pretty much around the clock, 7 days a week, to make ends meet and keep things moving. And I didn't want to take any time off, because of like, if I'm taking time off, then things aren't moving forward and I'm not progressing. I'm not growing as a person. The business isn't growing as a business, and content isn't being created and all that stuff. And for some, in some regards, that was good, right? Like, as I'm sure you would say, Beth, like the first 2-3 years, like you need that to be able to get the experience to be able to grow things, so that they can like get to a point where it's like, I'm not going to release that piece of content. I don't have to release that piece of content today. So something came up, and I don't have to feel the guilt of I'm taking time off, I'm taking time away. And look, it's a process, because I still feel that way. Like, I'm supposed to do this, I got to do that. And well, things happened with the kids, and now we're going to go to the zoo, and it's like, okay, well, let me move some things around and like kind of squeeze things here and there to make it work, to fit in.
And that's the beauty of planning. Like, when you plan, you don't have to just grind. Like, before planning, I would just grind every day. How much can I get done today? What can I do today to advance my business? And the next day, keep doing that. But when you have a plan, you can work in those times, and then there's no guilt, because you're just going according to plan.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, like content release schedules, schedules in general. I mean, I use the hell out of my calendar constantly, nonstop, right? Moving things around and even getting my wife in on it, so she knows, like, there's like, oh, well, I wanted to do this thing. Like, okay, cool. Did you look at the calendar? Did you put it on the calendar? Like if it's open on the calendar, then I can make it. We can make it work, right? Yeah. So those types of things are really critical when you're, especially solo entrepreneuring it, or small teaming even, to get where you want to go, and not feel that guilt that I'm not working. How dare I?
Right.
So let's jump to getting on the Shark Tank, doing the walkout, and did you have a plan? Did you have I assume you had a plan, but
and plan A, B, and C.
I, as a military person, I would expect it. But did you have a person that you specifically wanted to work with?
Yeah. And actually, Lori was the one. So if for whoever didn't see the episode, Lori gave me an offer. I walked away from it. What I was like, my dream plan would have been Mr. Wonderful and Lori together. One to help me with licensing. One or international distribution and one to help me get into big box retail. And so I think most people know this about the show. The entrepreneur is in there for a lot more than what you see on air, and it gets edited down. So there was a 50 minutes of conversation that we had, and only 10 minutes made it on TV. So what a lot of people saw was between Lori and I was she wanted to license it to Munchkin. I did not take her offer. What you didn't see is the reason I didn't take her offer is that was not part of my business plan. At that point, I was looking to get into big box retail. I had more products in development that I was launching. And if I would have just licensed the one product to Munchkin, that would have kind of ruined my plan. America didn't get to see that part of the conversation. So I take a lot of guff from people who say, oh, 3%, she's a moron. She could have been a millionaire. She just walked away over 3%. Actually, it was like 15% I walked away from because I went in asking for 5 and she offered 18. So 13%, sorry. But anyway, yeah. So my plan was to try and get Mr. Wonderful and Lori. When Mr. Wonderful, he actually tried to go out 3 times. Every time he tried to go out, I would counter his excuse with a reason why that's not a good excuse to go out. So then he finally goes out, and then it's just Lori and I. So I would have done a deal with her had she been willing to like help me get into retail, but she wasn't. So that was it. It was pretty easy to walk away.
Well, the other X factor there with Mr. Wonderful that I always come back to is the fact that he's so entrenched in the wedding industry, right? So what comes after weddings? The baby. Right? So it's so all of it, like
I could have done
right.
That
so it's I mean it's like, hey, you already have this huge email list, effectively. Mm-hmm. It's probably multiple lists, but you have this whole audience of people that are getting married or gotten married. Yeah. And they're going to have babies at some point, maybe, possibly.
I wish I thought of that. That would have been awesome to say.
I mean, for him, heck, he could have just did like an affiliate deal, give him like 20% or so, 20% cut, and he just sends out some emails and collects his money, I
wonder if I could get a hold of him and pitch that to him now.
But it comes up in so many pitches, and now I'm wondering if those business owners realize that Mr. Wonderful has that connection that because there's so many things that are connected to being married, like getting married, house, real estate, new house decoration, things like where it's like he never even brings it up that like, hey, if it's not directly related to weddings, then he's like not all about it. And it's like, hey, if you really want to market to people, like you already have the people that are already married, so you have the list to make that happen.
That's such a good point.
So and that's why people come to this show. So thank you.
Yeah, ding for you.
So people have given you a lot of headache about. I mean, I know ABC shared their clip and it's like, oh, 3% is too much, and look, that's the story. As an editor, myself, I know that like you have to find the storyline and then tell everything around that storyline. Would 3%, if Lori was willing to go with what your plan was 3% still too much?
It's hard to say because she was so dead set against it, and that's what's ingrained in my brain. I think if she would have been fully on board with my plan, my product launches, everything that I had like already in motion, I think I probably would have done it. Yeah.
I mean, she could have just walked this out on QVC and slam dunked, like.
You know what, though? So I actually tried to talk to QVC. They don't do baby products, and I said, but
what?
Yeah. So my demographic is, half of my customers are new moms, new dads. The other half is the grandparents and the aunts and uncles and the people buying it for baby showers, which is a QVC demographic. And they said, no, we don't really. I mean, we don't. The main demographic for QVC is not. New moms and dads.
Wow. I feel like they could get away with like an hour of it, just like once a week or a couple times a week. Just do the baby hour, and you put in a bunch of stuff, and you get all the grandparents to like buy that stuff. And sure. I mean, my grandmother was a QVC grandmother for sure. I mean, everything came from QVC. Yeah, that's
So I don't know if
wow.
that's why she didn't even like bring that up as an option. She didn't say anything
Well,
about
I'm
it.
sure she knows that, like,
Probably.
that it wouldn't even be a thing. But yeah, I mean, to me, I would think that would be a slam dunk. I wonder if HSN does anything in the
I think they're pretty
baby
similar.
line.
Aren't they owned by the same company?
If they are, I do not. I'm not aware.
Hmm.
They might have. They might be now. I mean, they weren't. I don't
Yeah.
think they were for like from the inception.
No, right.
But
Yeah,
they
I
might
don't
be.
know.
They. It wouldn't surprise me if they were now, because consolidation in that market space has got to
Yeah,
be,
yeah,
yeah, it's got to. It's probably, if it hasn't happened already, it probably will. One will
right.
likely buy the other.
Yeah. I had talked to a rep who's been getting people on QVC and HSN for 20 years, and he's like, I would be happy to work with you if it was not a baby product, but there's not much success in getting baby products on. So
Can you retool it for elderly people?
we're actually in product, or not in production. We're in the design process, the prototyping process for a larger mat with a different kind of tether for people with disabilities, the assisted living facilities, some of those kind of special needs uses.
All right,
So,
there we go.
well, maybe when that gets, when we get down the road on that, it's for me, it's just like, and you saw on the show, Mr. Wonderful says the baby market is hard, and all of my energy is going into that right now. I'm developing this product because there's been so much request for it, but to go to, like, I know the baby market now. I know how to do this in the baby market, but I have known nothing about the assisted living or disabilities area. I don't know how to market there. I don't know where to do things there. So I'm just taking the first steps and getting the product developed, and then figure it out as I go, I guess.
Oh, that's also, especially if you can keep it within the patents that you have.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
not like, now I got to spend more money on more patents and
Yeah.
all that. Speaking of patents, have you had to go and defend those patents yet?
So we have had knockoffs on Amazon, direct knockoffs, which I was expecting that a couple months after I aired on Shark Tank. We actually got our first knockoffs on Amazon about a month before I aired. And so I bought them. They are exactly the same as mine, minus my logo, and much poor quality. But as far as the shape, the design, they literally just bought one of my mats and reverse engineered it. It's the same. So I was able to get in touch with an attorney who helped Amazon create their neutral patent evaluation program. I submitted my patents to Amazon. They approved them. I'm in the program. So now anytime there is a offending ASIN on Amazon, I submit that ASIN, and it gets, in the beginning, that was a 28-day wait. So they would tell the seller, you're being accused of knocking off this product. You have 28 days to either pull the product or decide to fight it. We have submitted against. Amazon approved us, or we won every time. So now it's a 24-hour thing. So anytime a manufacturer puts something on Amazon that's a direct knockoff of mine, 24 hours and it's off Amazon. And so we're doing the same thing with Alibaba as well, but we have to use our copyright. So all the manufacturers in China who are making our mats as knockoffs are using my pictures from my Amazon and my website to advertise the product on Alibaba. So we're doing a copyright strategy there.
So that, so that tells me that they got a rat over at Shark Tank somewhere.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so? Oh, it's just a coincidence that a month before your episode airs that there's a knockoff coming out? That's just pure coincidence?
In Q4, so after I filmed last year, our business grew substantially, especially on Amazon. And so it's something that I've heard happens to successful products on Amazon. Anyway.
Okay.
So I think it reported to that.
Oh, good. Oh, so, I've heard. There was a bag manufacturer who actually did a whole commercial, like a short web commercial, all about Amazon knocking off their own bag, their bag. Like, we put all this research and development into this amazing camera bag, and then Amazon went and knocked it off.
Yep, I saw that. I saw that.
Yeah. I mean, the Amazon one is way cheaper than theirs. But yeah, I just thought it was and that's the power of marketing is even though Amazon is way cheaper because they did that commercial, because the way they did that commercial, I'm more inclined to spend, I think like 3 times the amount of money with them than to give it them, give $20 to Amazon. I'll give them the $60 or whatever it is for the bag.
For sure. Agreed. I would do the same.
Right, and that's but I would have never known if they didn't go and market it that way. Like, hey, look at what Amazon did.
Yeah, I'm hoping now that I'm part of this Amazon's actual patent, program that will dissuade Amazon from knocking me off.
Speaking to that, was it surprising to you that your product didn't exist already?
Yes.
As it was to me. When I saw it come out, I'm like, how did this not already? I mean, this is 2021. Like, it's had like at least 10 years to probably somebody to make something like that.
Yeah. When I initially did my patent search before, getting too far into production, there were 4 other similar concepts that had applied for patents. But nobody ever actually went all the way through with it to get the patent or to create the product. So, I mean, and I've seen so many comments on my Facebook ads and stuff from people saying, oh, someone stole your idea, It's just, I think a million people have had the idea. I was just the first one with the, I guess, stubbornness or tenacity to take it through to market. To
go through with it. Hey, and ding ding to that. I think, yeah, look, I one thing I always tell entrepreneurs and creatives is like come up with the idea and then go Google it, right, and see who's got it, right. See if you can find the exact. I mean, I've had plenty of ideas that I have like a whole. I just got away from Evernote, but I have a whole Evernote notebook full of ideas of like some of them exist, some of them didn't exist, or some of them didn't exist in the way that I was imagining them. And it's just whether or not you take the time and again the stubbornness to like, you know what, I'm going to be that person. I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definite stubbornness, that's for sure.
So, all right. So, when you were going back to being on Shark Tank, did you because you had a plan and you knew exactly where you wanted? Did you feel regret at all when you walked out of the tank? No, not at all. Okay, I didn't think you would because you got the plan and military mindset. So, but at the same time, like I didn't know if it was in the back of your mind, like that was like one big opportunity that just didn't work out.
No, I was more bummed about some of the feedback. So the guys, I guess, Robert, Mark, and Damon just really wanted nothing to do with the baby market. Mark and Robert had just kind of gotten out of a deal they had taken in a previous season. They said the baby market is too tough. We finally just got out of it. We don't want to be in it anymore. So that was like, well, I'm in it. I'm stuck in it. Maybe I'm in the wrong. I don't like, what does that mean for me? But then when Mr. Wonderful came back and said, the baby market is hard, you're a rock star, you're doing it, then I walked out with more confidence. But I was just bummed. I think everybody goes in there wanting like a deal from all 5 sharks. I wanted all 5 sharks to be like, that's such a brilliant idea. I want to be part of it. Because I think that it is. And they were just like, wah, wah. So that was kind of a bummer. And then it was, I don't feel regret of my decision of walking away. I just feel bummed that they weren't as into it as I am.
Yeah, I think the lesson there is to keep in perspective that like the sharks are human too, right? And it doesn't matter how many contacts you have. It doesn't matter, how many phone calls you could, couple of phone calls you can make to like be a game changer. It's still hard, right? And the Lala Cup example, I think was even crazier because that's a longer lifespan, right? Like because that was like a 1-year-old, maybe 9-month-old, like a 1-year-old to maybe 4-year-old, 3-4-year-old using that cup. And and they found it hard for themselves, to be involved with that.
Yeah.
So it's just at the end of the day, like, remember, we're all still human, and we, we could be the biggest of bigs, and it still doesn't matter. Like, it's still hard to push the boulder up the mountain.
Yeah. Yeah. So ultimately, I did walk out feeling good, though. I felt good that I didn't, I actually didn't want to even go to 15% with Lori, but the lights and the cameras and the, like, the atmosphere of it, I felt like I should. And then I said 15, and then I was like, oh, I don't really want to do that because if she would have said yes to 15, then I would have been stuck in that licensing deal, which, I found out later there's due diligence. You can,
you didn't know that ahead of time. That's one of the things I was like, do the deal, because like it can always fall apart later. Like, for better or for worse.
I kind of knew, but I didn't want to be that person who was ingenuine on the show. Like, I didn't want to do a deal that I didn't feel like I would actually go through with. So when I said 15, I was like, oh, I don't really want to convince her very much, but I feel like I have to try now. But no, I felt good walking away that I didn't end up in a deal that I didn't want to be in. And I felt good that I got the compliments from, Mark Cuban. I wish they would have showed on TV. He was standing up and cheering for me. Like, I literally felt like I was on the floor of the Mavs. He was like, because there was a lot of negotiation, a lot of conversation back and forth. He actually yelled at Lori at one point and was like, Lori, you're just disrespecting her now. And I was like, whoa. I didn't think she was. I was like, maybe he's just saying that for TV or something. They didn't end up airing it. But, he was so supportive and cheering for me. Mr. Wonderful said some really kind things. So I walked out of there feeling pretty good.
That's... And that's awesome thing to hear that, because so many people don't necessarily feel good about what transpires out there, and it's a shame, again, because it's all about the storyline, right? And when they went through and they watched it, they were like, oh, the 3%, that's our sticking point, and then everything that doesn't add to that,
right,
goes away. And no, that's great to hear that Mark was cheering for you so hard, and I guess I should ask, was your plan, like at the end of the day, money doesn't matter, but it matters, but it doesn't matter, but it matters.
It matters.
Well, okay. So, but having a deal with Lori, opening up so much potential more money, because you said she wanted to do a licensing deal with Munchkin.
Yep.
And you were like, no, that's not how I want this to go. But if you could have got the checks in the mail from a licensing deal, would that wouldn't have been good enough?
So here's the deal with licensing. I have a lot of friends who have licensed products. One, I no longer have control. So my product pipeline that I was really excited about is now potentially out the window. The guarantee, the money that you get up front from a licensing deal, would actually not have even covered my debt. So I would have still been in debt. Now, no longer having my own product, and then hoping that, say it was Munchkin, would actually produce it and sell it a million of them, which you would safely assume they probably would. It's a great product. It fits their product line. It's a need every parent has. But what if they didn't?
Yeah. Well, it takes shelf space away, right? They only get so much shelf space themselves, so much opportunity to market, so many dollars. But yeah, budgets and goals, on their end.
So the small upfront, it wasn't small. It probably would have been like a like $100,000 guarantee. That isn't enough to have taken away that risk for me. Like that would have been a lot of risk for me still to know, like, they might not even produce this thing. I might not make another dime. Yes, I could have potentially received a ton of money in royalties if everything worked out, but I'm kind of a control freak, and that took me out of the equation completely to no longer have any control over my own invention. So it just wasn't appealing to me at the time.
No, those are all great points, and I think a good heated warning to other entrepreneurs that, like, oh, well, you just go to the licensing deal and collect your check, because it is potentially great, and it's also potentially not great. I think it depends on the product. And again, if your product is taking up shelf space away from their other product lines or their other opportunities to make money, then they're going to take a harder, closer look at it and say, is this really delivering what we want it to deliver on? And maybe we just need to write off the $100,000 and whatever, right? The only other side that I see to that, though, is it still keeps you in the mix with Lori, because she still owns a piece of it too. And having that potential pressure from her to like, hey, you guys should do something about, we're not selling enough of these. We should make that happen. Is like the only X factor that I could think of outside of if they were like, yeah, we tried, it didn't work. Like, yeah, we tried for 6 months, it didn't take off like we thought it would. And then you still have Lori as part of the company. I mean, we see all the time them invest in entrepreneurs, like the entrepreneur themselves, not necessarily the business idea. Maybe not all the time, but it's happened enough times that it can be a thing. So I was wondering what your thoughts on that was. Like, it wouldn't have been enough to still been involved with Lori.
Yeah, I guess I have 2 comments on that. One, like you mentioned earlier, the Sharks are just people. So Lori is just a person. She's a TV celebrity, and she has her involvement in probably hundreds of businesses. Munchkin is still a ginormous corporation who probably doesn't really care that much about Lori, to be real. So that's kind of one thing there. Like, maybe she would have some influence and pull, but she also is involved in so many other things. How much is she really going to care? The other point is, I didn't get the impression in my conversations with her that she was investing in me at all. I got the impression that she just saw some easy checks rolling in by just creating an introduction, setting up a couple meetings, and just getting this in Munchkin's hands, like with minimal involvement. I didn't feel like she was on my side.
And that goes a long way, right? And that's why I said the money matters. It doesn't matter. It matters. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it does matter. But we as people have to be happy too, and happy with the decisions, and feel that the people that are investing in us or giving us time, right? Time, energy, and money, are really there for us, and vice versa too. It's not a one-way street, regardless of, again, how big a person is.
Yeah. So for me, the money wasn't there. The money wasn't there with her deal, in my opinion, and I didn't feel like she was invested in me as a business owner either. So that's why I said again, it was not that hard for me to walk away. People give me a lot of a hard time because they say I was just there for the publicity, which was not the case at all. But I guess people are going to say what they're going to say, but a lot
That's
of people
ridiculous.
say I was just there for the publicity. I was never there to get a deal. And it's like, I was trying to get on Shark Tank from before I even had prototypes. Like, I knew my idea was a good one. I know that I didn't come from a background doing any of this, and I don't know what the heck I'm doing. So I need a strategic partner like a Shark who's got the, connections and the knowledge to help me grow this. But it didn't work out. It didn't work out, but things are fine. I've grown and expanded so much from when we filmed that I have no regrets.
And I think that's important for everybody to realize too when they're watching these things. And one of the reasons that I try to come from a place of kindness and thoughtfulness is because these are real people. Like, it doesn't matter if we're talking about the Sharks personalities or whatever, or the businesses that are on there. They're still real people. It's edited in a certain way. Producers say things or help push things nudge things in a certain way. But it's still people. And you're not playing a fake TV, business on a, fake TV pitch show or something like that. Though that sounds like that could be a whole spin-off TV show of the Shark Tank with fake, Mark Cubans and fake Robert and what happens when they go off, offset and all that.
Yeah. I would watch that. I would love to. You should pitch that.
Too.
Add that to your list of things.
Ding, ding. Thank you.
You should pitch
Thank you. So you can send those checks to P.O. Box. So after Shark Tank airs, you didn't know if it was going to air till a month out. Were you holding your breath the whole time?
I actually have a video of my brother took of me when I got the email. I broke down bawling when I got the email saying I was going to air because, I found out my brother quit his job 10 days later is when I got the news. And I had the weight of, I have to support my brother's family now. I have to be able to pay him. I can't, I don't take a paycheck still. I had another job until just recently. I'm okay. But now my brother, I have to pay his paycheck or my nieces and nephews don't have a home. So there was so much pressure on me in that first, 2 weeks of having that. And in preparation for potentially airing on Shark Tank, I had invested in almost $500,000 of inventory because there's such a long lead time. If I were to get on air, I need to have product to sell. Fortunately, with my product, it doesn't spoil. It doesn't need any special storage stuff. So if I didn't air, it's not going to go bad. And at least I have product it will eventually sell. So when I got that email, we had just come from, our dad was retiring and had a welding business. And so he had just emptied out his big welding business. So I had a place to store all of this, a massive amount of inventory. We had just finished taking a container of product and getting it stacked and organized and then went to lunch. And I was with my dad and my brother and I opened up my email and I just started bawling because the sense of relief of knowing, okay, we're going to be on air. It's going to be okay. No matter how they edit us together, no matter what they do, people are going to hear about the Busy Baby mat and my product. And hopefully they'll see that, because my Facebook ads, people think I'm just some Chinese company. They don't realize we're sitting here in my garage. This is where I run my business. I'm a small business in Minnesota, not some, Chinese corporation that, will send you your stuff 2 months later and it's not what it was pictured on the ad. So it was just a huge, huge moment of relief. I still could cry at how much of a relief that was to get that news.
Beth, I want to cry just thinking about the amount of money that you spent to not even know if this was going to even air, right? Okay, you have a projection, okay, I know I can sell this. It might take me 6 months. It might take me a year. It might take me a year and a half, 2 years worth of inventory. God forbid, but we know that we got sales already. We know that we're moving forward with the business, regardless of if that happens. Yeah. And I want to cry just thinking about it. And from one garage to another, it is absolutely appreciated that that you take what you're doing so seriously, that you're not hey, we had a bunch of sales. Why don't we get a big old warehouse and a big old office and and start lighting up cigars with $100 bills, because why not, right?
Oh my God! If you could see the operation I have here, we have a pole shed. So I live in the country, I'm surrounded by cornfields, and we have a pole shed that 2 months ago leaked water every time it rained. It's got broken concrete floor. It was full of our just storage stuff, cobwebs, dirt. And we transformed that. We got up on the roof. We replaced every screw. We replaced bad tin. We caulked everything. We got pallet racking in there. And now it's another warehouse. It's hot. It's 90-some degrees in there right now because it's, hot here in Minnesota. But it works. It's holding our stuff.
I'm sorry. The roof?
The roof. Well, the roof leaked.
Oh no, you said the roof, not the. Well, so in the video, I mentioned that I had a T-shirt that says "Pop and Soda." So the dialect is strong in Minnesota, in soda.
When I was in the military, one of my jobs was a broadcaster, and so I had to go to broadcast school, and I think roof, bagel, and a couple other words, they could not get me to say them the right way because then just what's wrong with bagel? How do you say bagel?
Bagel?
Yeah,
bagel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds the same to me, but apparently
bagel.
Yeah, roof and root beer.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
Root beer.
Root beer.
Yeah, I think normal like non-Minnesota people say root beer.
Root beer.
I say root beer.
Root, well, it's that. I mean, that's one of the brilliant things about our country, right? It enables us to have these different dialects and words that perpetuate through people living in certain areas and stuff. So that's awesome. That's awesome. Has the wildfires been bothered? The smoke been coming your way, or is it been south of you and then coming to to Philadelphia?
Yeah, I think we had some come down from Canada. We did have a little bit, but we have a lot of jet streams go through here that kind of takes it out really quick too. So
that's good.
We
had it for like 4 days here.
Sad. Yeah.
It is. It is. It's devastating not only for them but for the rest of the planet. And it doesn't seem like it's going to get better anytime soon.
No. Well, on that happy note, Joe.
Yeah, right. Well, hey, I'm a positive realist here. Well, we're not going to end on a sour note.
Okay.
So all right. So it's been 4 months since it aired.
Yep.
How's it been going?
I mean, the weekend we aired, we had 6 weeks worth of sales in 3 days. So that was insane. That was awesome. Amazing. And the more product we can get out there, the more people. I mean, what's really baffling to me is people still have no idea what the Busy Baby Mat is. Never heard of it. You'd think being on national TV with millions of people watching, it would like start to catch on. But people don't know of it until someone they know has one and then posts it on their Instagram or something like that, or they see them in a restaurant like with, whoa, what is that thing? So the more mats we can get out there, the more we grow. So shortly after Shark Tank aired, we also did Deals and Steals on Good Morning America. And so we sold another like 4,000 units in 2 days, which was incredible. And so now
are you packing them yourself and shipping them? Ding. How about that?
Yep.
My hands hurt just thinking about that much tape and that much, tape and cutting, labels and
very, very, very efficient in our processes. So it's very smooth. It's not bad at all.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, it needs to be if you're going to sell 4,000 in like literally like 2 days in a day,
yeah.
2 days.
We had help too. Like when we have these big events, I'm lucky enough. I have 4 parents. Both my parents divorced and both got remarried 30 years ago. So I have 4 parents and they come in. My brother's friends come, my friends come, like my brother's kids who are 7 and 9. They love nothing more than filling Busy Baby orders. It is their favorite thing to do. So we have a lot of family help, friends help. It's fun.
I love it. And it just goes to show you that, having those people that care about you and you can surround yourself with that believe in it, on top of not just like, oh, it's a paycheck, really makes all the world a difference when it comes to like
nobody gets
4,000 orders a lot. Well, it's and all the more reason that it's so magical, right? And in the future, when you are lighting up cigars with $100 bills and in a big giant warehouse with big offices and stuff, you can think back about like what the good times, right? When things were easier, when I just all I had to worry about was my garage, and be like, oh, God forbid if I didn't pay my brother so that my his family couldn't, right? And right. It's like how not insignificant but how small in comparison to the giant, like the network of people that we have working for us now and all those things is just it's magical to be able to look back at. And I'm so glad that you decided to come here on this show and help journalize some of that for yourself.
It's been so fun talking to you about this. Like, I am leaving this conversation with so much gratitude for all of these awesome people and like circumstances in my life. Like, this has been really fun to go back and think through all this stuff again.
Oh, you're giving me goosebumps. Beth, thank you so much for being here. Please let people know how they can reach you, how they can get the Busy Baby Mat, and anything else that you want to plug.
Oh, well, sure. It's not even just the Busy Baby Mat anymore. And for people who don't know what it is, it's a silicone mat you can attach babies' toys to so they don't drop and throw them. I now have a mini version. I've also come out with a teething spoon that you can hook up to the mat so babies can practice feeding themselves without dropping the spoon constantly. But it's also a perfect teether. So someone sent me a picture of their baby in the crib, fell asleep with the teething spoon in their crib. Like, it's perfect for babies. And then we have a bottle bungee and a new release coming out soon, a toy bungee that are just longer tethers designed for a bottle or toys and can be used on the mat or on the stroller, car seat, wherever else. So we have a lot of products. You can find all of my cool stuff at busybaby.com, and then at busybabymat on Facebook and Instagram.
Absolutely love it, and you absolutely should. We don't have any more babies in our house, like I told you, 5 and 3. But if we did, we totally,
I would totally
be getting one.
Yes, as soon as your friends are having babies, that's what you got to get.
Yes, I absolutely will be. It's also, I think in the video I talked about, which again you can check out linked below, with the BizCoach Reacts video. When we first had our daughter, we got those plastic mats that stick down, which I don't think we ever actually refilled. Because they fell apart, and it just wasn't. And it's like, what are we protecting her from? Really, what are we? I'm trying to keep the thing. I think it's more important to keep the things on the table that was maybe just literally cleaned. I'm thinking about at the diner and stuff more so than because the floor is not clean. Come on, we all know that it's not cleaned every hour or anything like that.
Honestly, so that's why I invented it. But another huge thing from COVID is that we shifted to now nobody's going out to eat. So who's going to buy a restaurant product? People started seeing the value in using it at home on the high chair. And so you put that on the high chair while you're finishing cooking for the rest of your family, or while you're getting baby's food ready, or while maybe you want to eat something yourself. It's keeping the baby busy and happy so you can do these things and not constantly stop to pick something off the floor, take it from the dog, whatever.
Yes, 110%. It definitely is helpful in that manner as well. So Super Beth Fynbo, is Fynbo, right? I said it right?
You got it.
Awesome. Ding, ding. I appreciate you so much for coming on. It's been such a pleasure having you. You're welcome back anytime you want to come and talk about any updates or things you got going on. You're more than welcome to.
I love it. It's been so fun, seriously, talking to you. I'm really grateful that we got connected.
Me too. And if you're grateful for this episode, make sure you go down below and smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm so we can get this video in the hands of more super entrepreneurs like yourself. Super entrepreneurs that like super entrepreneur hats, like this one, that are now on sale over at yoursupergear.com. Go check it out. There's t-shirts, there's hats, and more, including a ding ding shirt that has the bell and the ding. It's right here, but it just takes so long to get it and show it. But yeah, so we have all kinds of stuff like that over there. Go check that out. And as always, you can get the Super Rocket Sales Rocket Guide down below. Just click that link and drop your email address to get 5 proven methods to grow your sales for your business. Anyway, I hope you have an amazing day, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.